Shuklam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Yenakshara Samamnayam Adhigamya Maheshwarat Kritsnam Vyakaranam Proktam Tasmai Paninaye Namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Paninim Sutrakarancha Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Samprikto Vagarthav Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaste everyone. Welcome. We were in our last class. So last week I noticed that people showed up and they saw Swami TV and they got scared and shut off their camera because they thought they were in this wrong Zoom class. We were watching the YouTube of Swami Tattvavidananda giving a Diwali talk last class, and so some people got got scared and shut off their camera because they thought Swamiji was looking at them. So it's very funny. So, before that, we were looking at Brahman-śabdha, which we'll see in a moment. And today we'll also hopefully get time to see manas-śabdha. So as we're getting near the end of the book, we'll see Brahman and Manas. So what's on your mind? What's on your Manas? Brahman. So there's some connection there. Before we do that, we'll do our Maheshwara Sutra. Om A-I Un Rilik E-ong I-ouch Haya-varata Larna Nyama-garna-nam Jabhanga Ghadadash Jabagardadash Kapha-chathatha Chatatav Kapai Shashasar Hal Iti Maheshwarani Sutrani Om Su Au Jas Am Ot Shas Ta Bhyam Bhis Nge Bhyam Bhyas Ngasi Bhyam Bhyas Ngas Os Am Ni Os Sup. Okay. So what we're going to see is we'll come to Brahman-śabdha. So this is page, we're going to go into our book. We're in our white book. We're on page 142 and 143. We did see this before, so we're going to go look at it a little bit more quickly than what we saw last time, just as a review, and then we'll see some additional things which we didn't get to see. Okay. So the first thing to notice is that in Napumsaka Linga, so we're in neuter, right? Napumsaka Linga, right? So the gender Linga is Napumsaka. It's neuter gender. When in neuter gender, the first and second case have different sections to them. And so this first section is what we call is part of the pada section. The second is part of the ba section. And this third is part of the sarvanamasthana section. So this is, what we know about. So third case onwards is the same as masculine and feminine in terms of what is considered pada and what is considered ba and what's considered sarvanamas. Just what is considered pada and ba. Okay. We'll see why that's important. So first, look at some of these declensions, why it looks a little different. So in Brahman, right? In first case, that's su or in this case, it would be because we're napumsaka linga. It is elided, it's gone. So we have we would just have Brahman by itself, right? But now we have nakara at the end of a pada, right? So we know when we've seen that sutra, we've seen that sandhis, where if na is at the end of a pada, it is removed, it's elided. So finally, from Brahman, trying to fit this in here a little closer. Brahman, we get Brahma. Right? So 1 is Brahma. For Sambodhana, that removal of the nakara does not take place. So it is Brahman. Hey Brahman. Okay, so Brahma. So 1 is Brahma. 1, 2. Notice how in this section we add ikara, long ikara. In Napumsakalinga, we add long ikara for 1, 2 and 2, 2. So we just add it together. So Brahman plus E becomes Brahmani. And that na becomes murdanya nakara. So that na changes. Murdanya sandhi. So Brahmani. Your tongue has to go up. Retroflex. Okay, we'll see this. We'll come back to this section in a second. Now in the Sarvanamasthana section, remember that. So what's Sarvanamasthana in Napumsakalinga? 1, 3 and 2, 3. Okay, only that section is Sarvanamasthana in Napumsakalinga. There we're adding a short ikara. Okay, so a Brahman plus E, short E. But there's what's particular about unending pratipadika is that in Sarvanamasthana, you get that penultimate is elongated. Penultimate means second to last. So second to last, that which is the second to last letter, becomes dirgha. Right? What that means is Brahman becomes Brahman. Right? Brahman. So Brahman becomes Brahman, and then we just add it together plus E, so Brahmani. Okay, so now we went through those. So 1, 1, what happens? Nakara gets removed. So Brahma. 1, 2, long ikara. Right? So Brahmani. And then 1, 3, that penultimate akara, penultimate Sanskrit word for penultimate is upadha. So upadha akara becomes dirgha. So Brahmani. So Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. Okay. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. So nice thing about Napumsaka Linga is the first case and the second case is the same. Right? That makes translating sometimes a little bit difficult, but it's helpful when we're looking at the shabda by itself. The rest we're just adding, right? So we have Brahman plus ta, right? Su ojas amochas ta. Ta becomes a, so Brahmana. Then bhyam bis. So I had bhyam, right? Brahman plus bhyam, but the nakara, because at the end of the pada, goes away. So Brahma bhyam. Brahma bihi. Brahmane. Let me know if none of this is, if this is not making sense, even if it's a little bit difficult, let me know and I can slow it down. Brahma bhyam. Brahma bhyaha. And then ngas su ojas amochasta byambis ne byambis nasi, right? So it becomes us. So Brahman plus us is Brahmanaha. Brahman plus bhyam, Brahma bhyam, Brahma bhyaha, Brahmanaha. Then os, Brahmanoho. Brahman plus Brahmanam. Brahman plus e, Brahmani. Also noted, these look same, but they're not, right? That one is dirgha, this one is short ikara. And this is not the same because this is a long. Right? Brahmanoho, Brahmasu, he Brahman, he Brahmani, he Brahmani. Okay, so notice how 1 and Sabodhana. Okay, I'll take a question. There's Harprasadji, you can go ahead and unmute yourself there.
Oh, so Mahodaya, the Sarvanamasthana differs from linga to linga.
So Punlinga and Strilinga, masculine and feminine, are the same.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, in those sections, right? Where those sections take place, that's the same for masculine and feminine.
Okay.
Only in neuter gender, the first two cases differ.
Either the first two cases or just 1, 3 and 2, 3 and S3.
Yeah, so it's really the whole first case and second case. Why I say that is because if you remember in masculine and feminine, this whole section,
yes,
was
is
Sarvanamasthana. So now this, right, is now called pada. This is called ba, right? And only
correct.
So this whole case, these are all, this whole area is different than masculine and feminine.
Right. Okay. Now, the S1, S2, S3, S1 it becomes a pada section.
Yeah, correct.
S2 becomes a bha section.
Correct.
S3 becomes a sarvanama section.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why is this only this in sarvanama section we add pratipadikam plus we add pratipadikam to supratyaya, whereas in the other two sections it is we add anga to the pratipadikam, not the pratyaya.
Can you say the question one more time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only for sarvanamasthana, in let's say in Pullinga, okay. I'm taking karta shabda. we add pratipadikam plus sup pratyaya to get that sthana.
To get the sthana.
Yeah, that's what it says in page number, it is in page 108.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the pratipadikam plus supratyaya is the sarvanamasthana for the 1 1 1 1 2 1 3 2 1 2 2 and sambodhana.
Yeah.
Okay, whereas in the other sections we add the anga, not the pratipadika. So we decide, as you said, we define anga as we have already added. It is just we have added the supratyaya already to become an anga.
Yeah. So that's correct. So let me pull that up for everyone else.
I am looking at page 107. Yeah.
So here, right? So this section in dark bold is, this is masculine and feminine, right? So this is sarvanamasthana. Here the pratyaya, su, o, jas, o, right? Those are what we consider sarvanamasthana.
Plus the sambodhana.
Plus the sambodhana. Sambodhana is really just part of first case.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then now technically the anga, yeah, is what we consider ba, and the anga is given the term pada.
Right.
Yeah. So here the pratyaya is termed sarvanamasthana, and here the rest of the section, the anga is given that distinction. Yes. So it's a little bit different.
So we add the sup pratyaya to the anga. So
to the pratipadika, and then the pratipadika, when it's near the pratyaya, then it gets the status of anga. So for example, right, if I have Rama plus Bhyam.
Okay.
Right? That Rama is the pratipadika.
Correct.
When it's in proximity to, or when it's near the pratyaya, it gets the status of anga.
Right.
So now that anga is called ba, technically, or that anga is called pada.
Okay, so it is.
So that's why we have here like Brahma Bhyam, we're looking Brahman, the nakara has to go away because technically the anga is pada. So Brahman plus Bhyam. Now Brahman, that is given the status of pada. And now because the nakara is at the end of the pada, it has to go away. So Brahma Bhyam.
Yeah, I understand. But my question is, why in the sarvanamasthana we are not adding it to the anga, we are adding it to the pratipadikam, whereas in other places we add it to the anga?
Yeah, so we're still adding it to the anga, even in the sarvanamasthana section. Because when you add a pratyaya to a pratipadika, it automatically, that pratipadika gets the status of anga.
Okay, so is the word they use at the bottom of page 107, in the at the bottom, the pratyaya in this section is called sarvanamasthana.
Yep, so that's correct. So the pratyaya is given the name sarvanamasthana.
Okay, it is not
so not the anga.
Okay. Whereas in other places, it is the anga.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about it.
No,
Dhanyawad.
that's okay.
Oh,
No, I'm glad you clarified that.
okay.
All right. So let's come back here. Okay, so we were looking at this, and so we saw Brahma-śabdha. One clarification we need to make is this right here. So it says Pratipadika with the star in the list below the word Brahman in that but section. So there's some words that have a star next to them, right? So we have like Dhaman, Naman, Vyoman. Okay. Now, mostly it's the same, but there's a small change that takes place. You see how it's Naman. So it ends with un, right? And nakara, un. For some of those words, like the one that's starred, the of un is removed. Of un is removed. So it becomes like this. You see how there's this little line here now? That means the akara was taken away. Yeah. So now it's just namni. So instead of namani, it's namni. Okay. And this takes place for the entire ba section. Now, what is the ba section? We saw in Napumsakalinga, it's this right here. And it's all of this right here, right? It's not the pada, and it's not the pada, and it's not the sarvanamasan. Everything else is ba. Okay, so what does that mean? If you look at how it is here, so it gives you some form. So for example, namni, then 3-1 is namna, 4-1 is namne, 5-1, 6-1, namnaha, right? Because the akara is removed. Namnoho, namnam. And then it's optional in 7-1. So you get namni or namani. Okay. Let's do the whole chart with Vyoman. Okay. Let's try it with Vyoman. Okay, so Vyoman. So now 1-1, the nakara will go away, right? So Vyoma. 1-2. Now this is where it becomes a little different. So Vyomni. Vyomni. Here, Vyomani. Vyoma. Remember, the akara goes away. Vyomni. Then Vyomani. Here also, this is part of that ba section. So that akara goes away. So Vyomna. Vyoma bhyam. Vyoma bhi. Vyomne. Vyoma bhyam. Vyoma bhyaha. Vyomnyaha. Vyomnyaha. Because it's like just like this. We say namnaha. So vyomnyaha. Vyomnyaha. Then 6-2. Vyomnoho, Vyomnam, Vyomni, or Vyomani. There's optional form in seventh case, right? And Vyomnoho. Vyoma su, right? We add the Vyoma su. He Vyoman, he Vyomni, he Vyomani. Okay. So just like the rest, we just see that change in some of these words. So Vyoman, Naman, Dhaman. Okay. All right, so I'll take questions a little bit later. What I want to do is I do want to start us on manas-śabdha. So we can start there because it's very similar to what we're doing here with Brahman. Okay, so what we learned in Brahman will help us carry out here. There's just some differences. So now we're going to flip to the next page, page 144, I suppose. Okay, we're us ending napumsakalinga, manas-śabdha. Right? So manas means the mind, the place where emotions sit and where thoughts go back and forth. Right? So manas. Okay. So what we'll see is manas, when we look at the steps of declension, I think that's on the next page. We'll just start this and then we'll do a little bit of practice. So manas. All of you are saying, I've lost my manas by now. I've, ba, pada, sarvanamasthana, I'm totally. That's okay. We're just taking it slowly here, right? Okay, so manas. So plus 1, 1. Now, right? Su and are elided when pratipadika in napumsakalinga doesn't end with the short akara, right? So we can get rid of it because it doesn't end with the short akara. Now, we have the word ends with the sakara. And what we've seen, right, is that when a word ends with the sakara, it becomes a visarga. Right? Like we see brahmanaha, it will end with us. Us, right? We saw that us and the sakara always becomes visarga. Similarly here, the sa at the end of the pada becomes visarga. So we get 1, 1, manaha. And remember, we're in napumsakalinga, so we have to follow this here. So manas plus long E, manasi. Okay, so manaha, manasi. Manaha, manasi. 2, 1, manaha, manasi. Okay. Now let's look at 1, 3, 2, 3. And then we'll maybe stop there, look at an example. Manas plus short ikara, right? For 1, 3. Now being sa ending, now this is where it becomes a little bit different. Being sakara ending, pratipadika. So when it ends with sakara, in the sarvanamasthana section, so in that bolded section, an extra letter nakara is inserted. Okay, after the last vowel of the pratipadika. So we see this here, right? It was manas. the last vowel here is akara, right? M-A-N-A-S. So the last akara. So after that akara, we get an extra letter of na. So it becomes manans plus E. Manans plus E. Then what happens is that the penultimate, so the akara before the na becomes dirgha, so it becomes manans plus E. And what happens then is this nakara becomes anuswara. We'll see this rule why in the next class. But within a pada, when you have a nakara followed by sakara, it becomes anuswara. So manansi. Okay. So if we just look at it a little bit without looking so much in detail, if we just look at it, right? Manaha, you can repeat after me. Manaha, manasi, manansi. Manaha, manasi, manamsi. Okay, this whole section, we're just adding it to the pratyaya. Right? Manasa, manase, manasaha, manasaha, manasi, manasoho, manasam, etc. So this section we'll have to look at in our next class, why it becomes monobhyam, but the rest we can figure out. Let's look at an example since we have a few more minutes. So just to notice some of these words that are sakara ending, right? Some of these words we see commonly in Vedanta, right? Like tamas, right? Tamas and rajas. Rajas, it could mean dust, but it also means activity, right? And tamas means either darkness or it can mean dullness, right, of our mind. So tamas, rajas, these are all sakara. So it declines just like this. Chetas, another word for consciousness. Tejas, something bright, brilliant. Tapas, the religious discipline, or shiras, the head. So these are all common words which we see in Vedanta, in Sanskrit. So we'll see this more, we'll see this. Let's look at an example here, okay? Number 1, tat manaha chalati. Okay, so think of, where do we start? We start with the verb, which is chalati. Chal dhatu, 1p. What does chal mean? It means to move, to move, right? So this is latakara kartari prayoga prathama purusha ekavachanam. So something moves. Now we need to look for a 1-1 or a first case, right? Tat or manaha, but we want to pick up our main word, manaha, right? Manaha is 1-1, or it can be 2-1. So let's say it, manaha chalati, the mind moves. And which mind? That mind, tat mana, that mind. Right? That mind moves. But that can also be 2-1. So another way you can translate is the mind moves to that. Right? That's another way. The mind moves to that object, tat. So it depends. We don't know what case that is. Okay, one more example. Okay, let's see this one. Manasaha tejaha tapasa labhyate. Okay, we're gonna have to go fast because we're at time. But labhyate, labdhatu, 1a, means to obtain something. Latlakara kartri prayoga, third one. Let's say, no, this is karmani prayoga because we see yakara and atmanepada. Right? So this is karmani prayoga. We still look for the first case. So here we see a few words. Manasaha, right, is not going to be first case. Tejaha. Tejaha is our first case, right? So brilliance. Brilliance is labhyate, is obtained. How? Tapasa. Tapasa, right? Ta, we're adding a. So that's 3-1 of tapas. So brilliance is obtained by religious discipline, by tapas. Now, the brilliance of what? Manasaha. So we can take 6th case here, right? 6th case. So the brilliance of the mind is obtained by tapas. Okay. Brilliance of the mind is obtained by tapas. So that's another example. We'll see more of these examples in our next class, and we'll finish off this word. And then we're coming near the end of the shabdas and the pratipadikas in this text. Okay. Finish with our prayer. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.